the three most senior people in the Los Angeles Fire Department are DEI hires.
Yeah. They're either fat, black, lesbians, or the women. Or some of them, or all of them.
Tens of millions of pounds were taken away from the fire department. Water that should have been diverted to reservoirs in LA was not diverted to LA to protect a very small fish called like not a skink, but something like that. Have you been watching the fires in the Pacific Palisades in California? I don't mean watching the fires. Have you been watching everything about those?
I've seen bits.
So for our viewers who may not be aware of what's going across the Atlantic, there have been massive fires in California and the Pacific Palisades. And what has emerged is that basically all the people responsible for this are DEI hires.
They're either fat, black, lesbians, or the women. Or some of them, or all of them.
So we start, and I think this is one of the most heinous examples of DEI hiring that's taken place. Basically, we find that the mayor of California, the three most senior people in the Los Angeles Fire Department are DEI hires.
Yeah.
So the mayor of California is a lady called Karen Ruth Bass.
Yeah.
And did you see what? And so, just to put some colour around this, she's a black woman, of course. To put some colour about this, when this fire happened, she was in Ghana,
right,
and she didn't fly back. But eventually she did fly back. Did you see what happened at the airport?
I saw. Was that a Sky reporter? She looked retarded. She didn't say a word. She stared into space and. Yeah, she looked retarded.
Yeah.
She actually looked like a hobo.
Yes.
I couldn't believe that she was a senior politician. She looked like a hobo.
Yeah. So she's a black woman. I don't know if she's a lesbian, possibly.
Yeah.
She's been appointed to be the mayor of California. She was in Ghana. And by the way, Ghana, for our listeners, when I went to Ghana, I did that trip across Africa. When I went to Ghana, it was full of black Americans because they see Ghana as where their ancestors come from, homeland. All I could say about that is they all looked incredibly uncomfortable because Ghana is like a primitive place, basically. It's rough. It's full of black people. Yeah. And they're not really black. They're sort of brownish. They're very they're light brown, but the Ghanaians are black, proper black people, basically. It's a rough society. It's a tough society. The black Americans I saw looked very, very uncomfortable all the time, even though they were pretending to be, I'm back in my spiritual homeland or whatever.
Because they thought they would go there and be welcomed as lost brothers and sisters. They get there and the locals see him as a fat, stupid tourist with loads of money, and I want that money.
It was like that. So it made me laugh when I saw them trying to be, sort of thing. But I mean, the native Ghanaians just saw them as fat Americans, fat rich Americans to exploit, basically. So she'd gone to Ghana, obviously, to do this discovery of her black roots or whatever. Didn't come back when the fire started. Flew back. In the airport when she landed, a Sky reporter, with an Irish accent, bizarrely, it wasn't an American one, was asking her a series of questions. Have you got anything to say about the fires? Have you got anything to say about the fact you were in Ghana when you should have been here? And she literally said nothing. And you're right, she looked retarded. She looked retarded. So that's the first. Now, she put in place a series of policies in Los Angeles to assist homeless people, which meant diverting money away from the fire department. Tens of millions of pounds were taken away from the fire department. Water that should have been diverted to reservoirs in LA was not diverted to LA to protect a very small fish called like not a skink, but something like that, all that sort of stuff. So as a result, when the fires kicked off, the firefighters had no water to put them out, basically.
It's basic 101, isn't it? A fire service needs water.
Yes.
If you'd have said they couldn't, it all went wrong because they had the wrong type of hats, you'd be like, well, I don't know what went. But to say they had no water.
In addition, the fire department, which normally clears scrub land or scrub bushes from between trees out the way, that didn't happen either. And again, this is all about net zero, rewilding, all that crap. So the stuff that normally happens that has to prevent forest fires from taking off or whatever didn't happen basically under the fire department.
And not been happening for years.
And not been happening for years.
Building up.
And the 3 senior people in the LAFD, Los Angeles Fire Department, are, as far as I can see it, black lesbian women who have been appointed as DEI hires basically. And there's one particularly stunning video which I think I sent you.
I watched it.
And maybe you can recount to our viewers what this woman's called Chrissy something, I don't remember, but maybe you could tell our viewers what.
Yeah, she's being interviewed, and she's morbidly obese, face full of makeup, looks like a lesbian. And
there's nothing wrong with looking like a lesbian, though, is there?
You should try hard and try to look pretty.
Okay.
You can be a lesbian, but just try to look pretty. And we're going to get in trouble for that one.
Well, you are.
And someone asked her a question about everything that's gone wrong, and or someone says to her, I don't think you could carry my husband out of a building. Is this DIA all gone too wrong? And then she turns around and says the strangest thing. She says, if your husband finds himself inside a building that's on fire, that's down to him.
Yeah. That's what she said. Well, what she actually said is, am I able to carry your husband out of the fire? Which clearly she's not, because she's a big fat lesbian. He got himself in the wrong place.
Yeah.
So it's your fault, Nick.
Your fault.
It's your fault you're in that fire and you're trapped and you can't be carried out because there's no strapping fire bloke, basically. But and one of the things they say is, a part of this is, when you're in a fire...
Yep.
And somebody turns up, you want them to look like you.
That's what she said as well,
Yes. So I don't want somebody who turns the fire to look like me. I want them to be a foot taller than me, 2 feet broader than me, highly muscular, young, strong, and fearless. Because I want them to come into the fire, pick me and my family up, and carry us out.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this idea that, this inclusivity thing is, when something happens, you want somebody to turn up who looks like you, is absolute and utter bollocks, isn't it?
It is bollocks.
Yeah.
I don't, my mum's not in the best of health. She's had several heart operations, stuff like that. When she's in hospital and the surgeon is walking towards her, I don't care what colour he is, I don't care what religion he is, I don't care anything if he's male or female. I just want to know, did you come top in your class? That's what I want to know, because I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
Did you come top in your class? And if they go, oh no, I scraped through medical school, but I was okay because I'm a black Portuguese, one-legged trans woman, I'd be going, well, you can fuck off. You're not coming near my mum. So I don't care who, I just want the best person for the job. That's all I've ever wanted. And what we've done in the West is we've built the most successful civilizations and cultures ever to exist. And as they got bigger and better, they became more and more complicated to run. And we needed the best, the smartest people to run those complicated systems. It turns out the majority of those people are white men. But then 20, 30 years ago, we decided that's unfair. We need to start putting other people in charge of the most complicated systems that we have, and we need to base it on sex, colour, religion, sexuality. And we wonder why California's burning.
I'm hoping we're hoping, aren't we, that eventually that if Trump gets into power, something will happen in California in terms of a shift in of direction. He calls the governor there, Gavin Newsom, doesn't he? I think basically. One thing that was interesting, it also turned out that this money they diverted to the homeless people to assist them away from the fire department was to assist the homeless people. But there were several homeless people found actually setting fires in as a result of this. I don't know if you're aware of this.
They've arrested loads of different people.
Yeah.
Some are migrants.
Yeah.
Others, I've seen videos of local people catching people with bags of incendiary devices. This happens all over the world. When we had, remember all those fires in Greece a couple of years ago? They arrested loads of people, then lots of migrants setting fires.
Yeah.
When we have fires in our area, in Greater Manchester, in the Peak District and stuff like that, they've all been set, people have set fires to them. There's something.
Why are they doing that?
There's something about humans. We love fire.
Yeah. I love a fire, yeah.
We
I had
love
a fire
fires.
on New Year's Day on the
Children
beach.
play with fire if they can, but there's something magical about it. So we're that way inclined anyway. I've got no evidence for this at all, but this is just me coming up with something here. There will be a certain percentage of people who society, wherever they are, society is not treating them well. They feel undervalued, persecuted, victimised, and they have a sense inside of, let's burn it all down.
Yeah, I think people like that exist.
And yeah, they do exist.
Who've been treated maybe badly when they were younger. I don't know you know this more about than I do, because you've dealt with these people before, haven't you?
It's that victimhood culture of, if I can't have a good life,
then no one can have a good
life.
I had a fire on New Year's Day on the beach.
No.
We went for a swim in the sea.
Yeah.
And we have a fire going, so when we come out, we can warm ourselves at the fire.
Lovely.
One of the arson people who were arrested.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one. I don't know if you've got any answers for this, Nick, but maybe our more sophisticated listeners can tell us why this is the case. He had 5 cell phones on him, and he had a UN prepaid debit card.
Yeah.
What's happened there?
Well, the UN prepaid card means he's a legal immigrant.
Right.
Because if you turn up in America, you get bank cards.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
New York State will give you a bank card, and they put so many $100 a week on it for you.
You're joking?
No.
But did some of them get UN cards then?
Well, I'm just presuming the UN card is something similar. That he was a
brown guy. I mean, I saw that.
I'm presuming it's some sort of illegal immigrant or undocumented migrant, and he's got a UN card that gets topped up weekly with money. That's what that card will be. The phones will be, he stole them. That's what the phones will be.
I think he was an immigrant or a homeless immigrant or whatever.
He would have stolen them. He probably would have, one of them was probably given to him as his phone by the UN, and then he stole other phones off other people.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're speaking now openly in America about deportation of immigrants. The czar there is called Tom Homan.
Yeah.
And he was asked how he would start the deportation process, and his response was shock and awe.
Yeah.
And then he went shock and awe.
Yeah.
And I thought that is fantastic. I actually thought that's what we need here in this country.